You're tuned to Texas Renegade Radio. My name is Shaggy, and my guest today is Grammy Award-winning Texas native, veteran of Nashville, world-renowned author, songwriter, performing artist, recording artist, and generally a great guy, Rodney Crowell. Hello, Rodney Crowell.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing really well. Really excited that you are coming to Dallas and touring through Texas in support of your brand new album called Texas.
Yeah, it's called Texas. How about that?
Yeah, we really like that around here. And just to give you some context, KNON, you can think of this radio station and our format, Texas Renegade Radio. Think of us as that little kerosene lamp that's in the center of the table that you and Guy Clark and Steve Earle and Towns are sitting around, and Susanna are sitting around in the documentary Heart-Worn Highways. Think of KNON as that little lamp that's kept the flame burning all these years.
Okay, well, I know that lamp, and I know you, so I have a leg up in this conversation. I understand what we're doing.
Awesome. So you are playing Dallas at the Kessler Theater Friday night.
That will be me. Me and my rather swinging band that I have.
Great. And who's in that band?
Well, the Eagles are on hiatus right now, so I was able to fetch my dear friend and longtime collaborator, Stuart Smith. So for all the guitar geeks, they won't be disappointed at all. And one of the singers in my band and keyboard player is a Dallas girl named Hannah Sutherland. She's in. And Lex Price on bass. Of course, my boy Eamon McLaughlin on fiddle. And Nate Barnes on drums.
That's quite a lineup. That's going to be great. So also on the recording on your album Texas, it's mind-boggling who all you've got on there. Willie Nelson, Lyle Lovett, Billy Gibbons, Steve Earle, go on. And the big one, tell me about how that all came together.
Oh, the big one, would you mean Ringo Starr?
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's not everyday occurrence, is it?
No.
But for me, Billy Gibbons is not an everyday occurrence as well. To get back to Ringo, we have a mutual friend who had been trying to get Ringo and I together for a couple of years to write a couple of songs for Ringo's albums that he makes. He's making regular albums, and we just never found the right moment for that. But I let my friend know, our mutual friend, Ringo and mine, that I was getting ready to start a new album. And I didn't have Ringo in mind at all, but he texted me back and said, "Hey, I spoke to Ringo, and he said he wanted me to get a message to you that he's a drummer and available for recording if you come out to his studio in California." So, what was I going to say? Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll keep the Beatle waiting, No, I bounced out there pretty quickly, and we went into his studio that in his converted pool house in Hollywood and recorded a song in one take. It was that simple. And that was, and I was off and running on this new album. And then Steve Earle and I got together to record this song of mine called Brown and Root that I wrote way back in the 70s, and something that Steve had learned and done on a couple of his tours. So we bounced in the studio and recorded that, and I was like, okay, I got a couple of collaborations. And Billy Gibbons and I had spoken for off and on for a few years about cobbling something together, collaborating on something, and I came up with a song finally that was the right song for us, and sent it to Billy, and I said, how about this? And he said, I'm in. And so we went in and recorded track together, and then Lyle Lovett and I got together and recorded a track, and it was just just started to happen that way. And, you know,
I can't
Willie
imagine.
Nelson and Leanne Womack and Ronnie Dunn came around, and we recorded this song called Deep in the Heart of Uncertain Texas. And the next thing you know, I just have this Texas-centric album taking shape. Randy Rogers, you know, up from New Braunfels, we got together with Leanne and recorded a song. And there you go. The album just started to take shape and make itself. There's actually one of the songs on it, the second cut, called Call Call Blues. At the end of, you know, my good friend Guy Clark's life, he rang me up and I went around to see him, and he said, man, I don't have any energy anymore. He said, but I've got a couple of verses for this song. I want you to help me do it. Help me write it. So I took Guy's 2 verses and cobbled on it for a while and came up with kind of a Texas blues shuffle melody. And so also on the album is the last song that Guy Clark and I wrote together.
Oh.
Just before he passed away.
Which is?
The song is called Call Call Blues.
Oh, that one. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, you know, so it all, and I was in a conversation with Billy Gibbons about, you know, regional music when we were growing up. He on the west side of Houston and me on the east side of Houston, and we're close to the same age. And our conversation, I said, you know, these songs are all Texas-centric. And he said, well, there's the title of your album, bud. I said, Texas-centric, huh? That sounds good. And then I went on for a few days, and I went, hang on a minute. If I were going to call it that, I might as well just call it Texas. And an album is born.
Well, welcome home, and pass out the cigars.
Yeah, well, the cigars are out there. We're spreading them.
So you were mentioning all those songs with the collaborators. You've got one in particular that I just watched the video for is with Billy Gibbons, and that's 56 Fury.
Mm-hmm, true.
That's a great video. At the end of the video, it has a picture of an old car with a...
Well, it was brand new at the time. That is a photograph of my father-in-law who lives in Rowlett, just outside of Dallas. And when he was a wee lad, he owned a 1956 Plymouth Fury, one of the coolest cars ever made. And that photograph that I tagged on to the end of the video was the inspiration for the song. I would go to Rowlett to visit, you know, my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, and I'd look at that picture and I kept telling myself and my wife Claudia, I said, you know, that song, that picture is screaming at me to be a song.
Right.
And then when I finally opened it up and, you know, found the place, I realized it's a hot rod boogie photograph, you know, and that's when I realized, I know what to do with this. I can write something, Billy, and I can record.
And it is a boogie woogie.
Yeah, it is. It is a boogie.
And at the end, it has a little caption. It says that it's for Claude and Mary Lucille Church.
That's true.
That's your parents-in-law.
Those are my in-laws, my mother-in-law and my father-in-law.
Nice. And who's the other, aside from Billy Gibbons in the video? I'm just curious. This is the odd thing I noticed. Who's the other guitar player in the LBJ hat?
Oh, that's Audley Freed. A great guitar player. Is normally plays with Sheryl Crow. He plays in Sheryl Crow's band, but he also is a much in demand guitar player around Nashville. Plays on a lot of recordings. Played on my last few albums. A really cool dude all the way through. There's David Santos on bass, and my next door neighbor, Greg Morrow, on drums.
Nice. All right. And so also, Lyle Lovett sings with you on What You Gonna Do Now.
Mm-hmm, he does, and he sings quite well.
Do you remember, when did you first meet Lyle Lovett?
Oh, I first met Lyle Lovett. Guy Clark and I were in Austin, and we were playing the old Texas Opera House, and and it was Guy, he said, "Hey man, there's this guy you got to meet. In fact, we need to bring him up on stage." And because Guy and I were performing together, and so I met Lyle, and he had that cool hair on top of his head, and I was like, "Oh, this guy's interesting." And he came out, and we had called him out in the middle of our set, and he did a couple of songs, and it was. I said, "God, Guy, you're right. This guy's really good." And from then on, it's like I'd see Lyle every now and again, and we eventually grew to be pretty good friends.
So KNON has a interesting Lyle Lovett and Robert Earl Keen connection. Some of our country DJs met them when they were like at Kerrville Folk Festival. I guess it was 1980 something, maybe 85, 84, 85. And they were not signed. They had demo cassette tapes. I think Robert actually did have his album at that point in time. But, so they came through Dallas early on, and the DJs had been playing Robert Earl's album, but we didn't know much of Lyle, and Lyle opened for Robert Earl. And when we got to the show, we were like, "Hey, wait a minute, who's this other guy? We really like him." So I get it. He's got that striking something.
Yeah, he's charming too.
Yeah,
Lyle's an extremely charming fella. So Texas. That's the reason I wanted Lyle on to record What You Gonna Do Now, because his character in the song is I think kind of eloquent, and asking all the right questions of my character in the song is kind of all over the place and trying to make excuses for his life, for not being able to keep a relationship together. And so, I mean, that's why I looked for Lyle. I said, "Lyle, this is just, it was casting. I need you to do this." And he went out of his way to come around to do it. So I'm really grateful.
Fantastic. And speaking of the Kerrville Folk Festival, you played at Kerrville this year. How long has it been since you played Kerrville?
Well, Amy Lou and I, during our duet run a few years ago, we were booked on Kerrville Folk Festival, but it rained so hard they had to cancel the show at the main stage there. So we wound up doing an impromptu set in the hotel lobby where we were staying at this hotel in Kerrville.
Oh, wow.
So that was 2015 or 14. So what is that? 4 years?
Right. One of our volunteers here remembers vividly, he believes it was 1976 that he was at Kerrville, and Guy Clark was performing, and Steve Earle was playing bass, and you and Roseanne showed up. You were just hanging out. Mm-hmm. He has a mental snapshot and mentioned it to me. So that's great. How'd it feel to be down there?
Oh, well, to be at Kerrville Folk Festival, it's a tradition, and it's something that's going on for a long time, and something to be revered and, to held in the highest esteem, in terms of what it means historically. It's Guy Clark and Jerry Jeff and Townes Van Zandt territory. You're, as you say, your lantern in the middle of the table. Kerrville is one of those as well. So
right
there you are.
And speaking of high esteem, you were just inducted into the Texas Country Music Hall of Fame in Carthage. True,
but unfortunately, I was unable to attend because my face broke out in shingles, and it laid me aside for about a week. As a matter of fact, it's my face is still kind of trying to recover from it. Hopefully, by the time I get to Dallas, I won't have any more markings on my face.
I would, if I were you, I would just lay that off on cowboying. Just say, I'm cowboying.
Well, for a while, I laid it off on, that I took, I gave Mike Tyson a good go.
There you go. Well, I'm sure we can all look past that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I can. If I can get past it, you can look past it.
Hey, okay, so also you're playing at a great Texas dance hall is it called Copeland?
It's Copeland.
Copeland.
Yeah, I made sure when we were arranging the tour, this Texas tour, I said, look, I want to play in all of the dance halls I can. So, I also get to play in Kane's Ballroom for the first time, and actually Emmy Lou and the Hot Band, and which I was a member, we played maybe mid-70s, 75, 76, we played Kane's Ballroom. And a few years ago, I went down there to induct Chris Christopherson into some sort of Hall of Fame there. So, but I'm going back with my band, and I'm looking forward to playing Kane's Ballroom in Tulsa.
Oh, that's
that's an extension of Texas up there,
It really is. And
yeah.
I-35 is way better through Oklahoma, I can attest.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's an organization here in Texas right now that is working to restore and maintain Texas classic ballrooms, Texas dance halls. It's
good
a
idea.
Dance hall project.
It's a good idea, to preserve a heritage. It's when all of the big swing ballrooms are going on around the country. Texas had its own version of that, culturally speaking. And Bob Wills and the Playboys were Texas Playboys. They were the band for those dance halls. And I grew up, in cultures where that was still alive. People danced when I grew up. We played music and people danced. So that's why I was very keen, to get to Green Hall and to Copeland and to Kane's Ballroom, because I like playing music when people dance.
Heck yeah. So let's talk about those dates. August the 16th, the Kessler Theater here in Dallas. Now, that's not a dance hall, but people will definitely...
Well, it could be.
There's correct. And then August 17th in Copeland. August 23rd in Lubbock at the Cactus Theater. August 24th, Amarillo, Hoots Pub. August 25th, Tulsa, Kane's Ballroom. And then back in Texas, September 4th, Kenny, Texas. Waco, Texas, September the 6th. September 7th, New Braunfels, Green Hall. That sounds like a road trip for Shaggy.
Yeah. Well.
So that's your Texas run.
Well, no, then we come back in October.
Even better.
Yeah, I don't know the dates. I know the next few days. That's about as far as I let myself get ahead.
I can relate. Definitely. So also, you have started your own imprint, your own label, RC1. And Texas is on that. But I contacted you through New West. So catch me up, fill me in. What is your affiliation with both of those?
Well, I have my own label. It's small, I'm the only artist. And so I have to, I have more work to do because now I'm a label head. But also my relationship with New West Records is still the same. And generally I'll discuss with them, what I have in mind and what I want to do. And we made this, like I had a Christmas album out in this past Christmas, Christmas Everywhere it's called. And, New West said, let us have that one and you take the Texas record. It's looking like they made the wrong choice. looks like they may have did better with this Texas record because it seems to really have teeth. But I'm sure I'll make another couple of records for New West as well. It'll just one project at a time.
How nice to be able to be an entrepreneur like that. That's great.
Yeah, it is. It is nice. I have some. I guess over the years I've earned the right,
Yeah, you have. Okay, well, let's talk about a couple of more tracks on that said album there. So deep in the heart of uncertain Texas.
Well, it is a place, Uncertain. It's in Cass County, very near Caddo Lake over on the Louisiana border, northeast Texas. I was there in the 70s with a roadie friend of mine when I was in the hot band with Emmylou Harris, and we snuck off tour on a day off and went fishing in Caddo Lake. And I passed through, there's just a little sign that says Uncertain. And my roadie friend said, "Hey, man, welcome to Uncertain Texas." And that was all I needed to start on that song. So I wrote that song in the next couple of days after our fishing trip. And it's been around for all these years. And so I've just now had the right album to record it on.
Nice. So you grew up near Houston?
Yeah, well, smack in the middle of it.
Ah. And
well, I always specify that I grew up on the east side of Houston. It's different than the west side.
If you follow John Nova Lomax, I'm sure he will expound upon that a lot.
yeah, of course. I know Nova's dad pretty well.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Nice. So, speaking of characters, tell me about, going way back, tell me about you and a fella named Donovan sleeping on picnic tables.
Well, Donovan's here. He's my sound guy, road manager. We've been together since 1970. Yeah, when we first got to Nashville, we lived in my car. We were a singing duo, and we were trying to make our way, and the best we could do at the time was he would sleep in the car, and I would sleep on the put a sleeping bag on the top of a picnic table by the lake, not Old Hickory, but Percy Priest Lake in Nashville. And that's from August 1972 until the weather got cold in mid-November. That's where we lived, and could take a bath in the lake, just jump in. And 4 nights a week we could play at the Bishop's Pub and pass the hat. So we probably earned $25 a week between us, and that was, gas was $1 a gallon, breakfast was 69 cents, and at Bishop's Pub we could get a free hamburger and pitcher of beer, and life was grand. It was wonderful. It was just some of the most fun I ever had. That's when I met Guy Clark and Skinny Dennis and Townes Van Zandt and Steve Earle. It came there a couple of years later. That's where I met Steve, and it was a golden, beginning of this so-called Texas group that I'm a part of. Right there at Bishop's Pub in Nashville.
Wow. And Susanna, tell me about the song "Life Without Susanna."
Susanna was Guy's wife, and I met Susanna before I met Guy, and Susanna and I were fast friends, and we were as tight friends, as Guy and I were. It was like I was friends with two people in a marriage, close friends, and I loved Susanna. Everybody who knew Susanna loved her. She was a poet and a painter, songwriter, and just a sage. And I loved her. But the last, literally when Townes died, she went off the deep. And the last 10 years of her life were pretty sorrowful for me. Couldn't get her out of bed. And so I wrote that song out of pain and frustration and hurt.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, but you know what? In her golden days, man, she was spectacular.
I just want to thank you so much, Rodney Crowell, for spending time with KNON. We feel your pulse, and we here in the Dallas community, we just love to keep this kind of music going, and we look forward to all your future endeavors.
All right. Well, thank you. I'm so pleased that you're there and that you're carrying the torch, and all good stuff to you. Thank you for letting me speak.